What's going on YouTube? This is SB3, and today I'm going to be going through and doing my top 10 predictions of the 450 class for the Lucas Oil Pro Motocross Championship. Um, if you watched my video a couple days ago, it's going to be the exact same format. We're going to be going over the schedule, the top 10 riders, I think, where they're going to finish. Had to do a little bit of updating because of some injuries, but it is what it is. So let's get right into it. Same as before, we're going to be going through the 2022 schedule. So I touched on this in the last video, but starting off at Pala, going to Hangtown, Thunder Valley, High Point, Red Bud, Southwick, Spring Creek, which is Millville. That's the way I've always grown up hearing it. Spring Creek was always a very, very weird word for me for whatever reason. Anytime I hear that track, I always think, why don't they just call it Millville? Um, and it's the only track that really kind of catches me off guard like that. I don't know why. But then after that, we're going to Washougal, Unadilla, Budds Creek, Ironman, and then we're back at Frocks Raceway to finish out the season. So if you compare this to the last couple seasons that we've had, there's a lot less repeating in the schedules. There's no Loretta Lynn's, um, which I think is good. We're going back to a normal schedule, which is I think a very good thing. Um, I'm not personally the biggest fan of Palace, so seeing it on here twice, it's good for the racing, but I'd like to see a couple more tracks in there that maybe aren't in there. But Pal's cool. I like. It's not my favorite track, but it's always good to go to these tracks. So let's go ahead and move into the top 10 in the 450 class. So I did take some things into consideration that I didn't do in my Supercross top 10 video. I'm trying to account for a little bit of mistakes, things that have happened in the past, whereas in the Supercross videos, I was going through and really just kind of giving a spit take on where I thought people would finish, and sometimes I was considering injury, sometimes I wasn't. Um, so I'm going to be very upfront. Antonio Cairoli is not in my top 10 because he is not committed to the entire season. Um, from the last things I've heard he may do 2 races, 4 races. From what I understand, it's very up in the air, and I don't feel confident. I think if he runs the full series, he's definitely inside the top 5, top 10 maybe, depending on injuries and things like that. But I think if he races the full series, he's going to have a lot better chance of being inside the top 10, obviously. But since he's not contracted, or at least he hasn't announced, or I haven't seen that he's announced that he's going to be racing the full 12, um, he is not in this list. That being said, I truly think Caroli is going to be going through and doing. He's testing the waters. I think if he comes out and waxes the floor with everybody, then why wouldn't he stay? He can get a championship and be, I believe, the first person in the history of the sport to win both an MXGP title and an AMA Lucas Oil Pro Motocross Championship. So um, that's the reason why he's not on my list. I don't want people asking why he's not there, but I hope he stays for the whole series. I think it's good for the sport to get a 9-time world champion over from the MXGPs and see how he stacks up in a long hot summer. So starting off my top 10, I've got Shane McElrath on the Rockstar Energy Husqvarna. And before I start, courtesy to RacerX Online I pulled all these pictures from RacerX Online. So not my photos, didn't take them. All credit goes to them. But Shane McElrath, I think, is going to finish in the top 10 of Lucas Oil Pro Motocross. And I originally had Joey Savacci here, but yesterday he announced that he's going to be missing the first round. And I didn't read into it as to why, but I'm imagining it's that ACL that he tore at the beginning of the year, and it's just not, healing the way that it should, or he tweaked it during practice. I think is what may have happened. I'm not 100% sure. I didn't read into it, but bummer for Joey. Just gets back on his factory level team that he started his 450 career with, and he's not even going to race the first round. But Shane McElrath, I think, is going to be solid. I mean, he does well on the KTM like brands. He rode Troy Lee Design KTM in the 250s for a fair amount of his time, and then he switched over to the Star Racing Yamaha in his last year. But I think coming back to a KTM like brand with Husqvarna, I think we're going to see him not contending for race wins, but I think we'll see him contending for top 5s. And we may not see it first couple rounds. I honestly think it's going to take him a little bit to get adjusted to this bike. I believe he's only contracted to race out the first 4 rounds. Um, and that's when Dino's supposed to be coming back, but um, I don't think Mookie's going to be racing outdoors. I truly don't. It said he's supposed to be gone for I think with his knee surgery and the turnaround time that they're looking at, they're saying 6 to 8 weeks. And if it's me, I'm not even going to come in for outdoors. I mean, he hasn't raced them in years, and him coming in midway through the series or towards the end of the series, it just doesn't make sense for me, which is a bummer. I was excited to see him come through, and I've been very critical of Mookie since he hasn't raced outdoors since he's been on the 450. Um, he seems to have wanted to be Supercross only. Now I don't know whether that's the teams that he was on didn't want to provide a bike for him outdoors, or if it was just on him. I don't know that. Um, but from the outside looking in, the timing seems a little bit conspicuous, but um, it is what it is. I feel bad for Mookie. I was excited to see what he could do outdoors because of the contention level that he had for Supercross this season. Um, but I think Shane's going to start off kind of mediocre is not the right word, but I think he's going to start off kind of slow. He's figuring out the bike. He's never raced outdoors on a 450, so I think we're going to see a little bit more of a slow build for Shane McElrath. As long as he can keep himself healthy, I think it's very possible for him to get inside the top 10. All right, ninth place, I've got AP. Um, and this one was tough. He crashed out last season on the Star Racing Yamaha, and I just don't think he's going to have the top end speed to be able to compete with the guys that are running, um, consistent, that will be finishing consistently in front of him. I could see him moving in up towards the top five, but I don't see him going any higher than that. I think he'll contend for podiums and race wins, but I don't think he's going to get a race win personally. Um, and again, I could be very wrong. I mean, he could come out and show everybody what's going on, but I don't think he's going to be quite at that level. He's coming off of I think it was a wrist injury, and I don't know how that's healing. He missed most of I think it was the entire most of the Supercross season because of this wrist injury, and I don't know how long he's been on the bike. I don't know how long he's been training for motocross. There's a lot of unknowns with Aaron Plessinger. I think he's got wicked speed and he has the potential to be a race winner, but he's not there yet. I think it's going to similar to Shane McElrath in a sense that he's going to be more of a slow build this season. I think if he can stay healthy through Redbud and go into the second half of the season healthy, I think we're going to start seeing him contending for top fives a little bit more often. Eighth place, I've got Christian Craig on the Monster Energy Star Racing Yamaha. Um, he's Mr. Consistency. I mean, it's not uncommon for him to be fighting for the top five every week in the 450 class on in outdoors, and it's his last hurrah before he switches over to what is believed he's going to Rockstar Energy Husqvarna for 2023 and 2024. I think maybe it was just 2023, but he's moving over teams, and if I'm Christian Craig, I'm going to be going out there, even if the title's not my main focus. I want to go out there and show that I'm worth what I'm getting, just in case the Rockstar Energy Husqvarna deal isn't solid. I don't know if he's already signed or not, but that's where rumor mill has him going. Um, he's solid. I mean, I don't think he's going to be contending for race wins at the end of races. I think he's a good enough starter that he can come out there and produce results in terms of, he might be leading a couple laps at the beginning of the motos. He may be running top five into the second half of the motos. He may be getting a podium. He might get a win. I mean, the speed he's had hasn't really translated from Supercross to motocross, but I think if he can figure out how to harness that a little bit better, I wouldn't think it'd be super uncommon to see him come out and win a race. I don't think it's going to happen, but it wouldn't be the most shocking thing I've seen if he comes out and wins a race. I don't think he's going to be in title contention, which is why I have him so far back. But I wouldn't be surprised to see him come out and be up front leading laps and finishing inside the top five at times. Seventh place, Justin Barcia. And I had a hard time with this one. Um, Bam Bam, I don't think he's a seventh place rider. I just think the people that are in front of him, that I have finishing in front of him, are going to be better consistency wise. And I think that's going to, put him where he's at. I think we're going to get the same thing we always get out of Justin Barcia. Supercross and outdoors, he's always there. He's consistent. he's never going to blow the doors off with speed, but he's going to have moments of brilliance where he comes in and he might win a race, he might win an overall, he's probably going to be on the podium every once in a while. I don't think the title I don't think the title's really in reach for him this year, just because of the people that I have in front of him. I think are going to be very, provided that they're consistent and they don't get hurt. I think that's going to be hard for him to beat them consistently day in and day out. But he's always there. He's going to be somebody I could see very easily finishing top five, even a podium in this series if he gets the right circumstances. I mean, I think it's going to take a little bit more than just Barcia on his own. I think people in front are going to have to, oh excuse me, are going to have to get hurt. I think they're going to have DNFs. They're going to have things happen that are going to give them very, very little points. And I think, Justin Barcia, if he's sitting fifth place, round 9, 10, 11, and he's close and something, I think he's going to do exactly what he did to Mookie to try to get, whatever position he's trying to get. Um, I think Justin Barcia, I'm glad he finally owned who he was in the finale after he T-boned Mookie, but um, it is what it is. It's racing. I think rubbing's racing. I think it's good for the sport, but you gotta his biggest thing is going to be trying to get up there and fighting consistently for wins, and I don't think he's going to be up there every weekend. Sixth place, I've got Ken Roczen returning to racing. So I was surprisingly accurate with my Supercross prediction of Ken Roczen. I don't know exactly where he finished, but I know it was top 10 or it was 10th place or worse. Um, and that bums me out. He's coming back. He's pissed off. But realistically, I don't think we're going to see anything too terribly different from Ken Roczen that we've seen in the last couple years. I think he's going to be really, really quick in the first couple rounds. I wouldn't be surprised if he wins at Pala, if he sweeps it. Um, None of that would surprise me, but I think as we get later into the season, and I've been going back and watching the 2014, I'm on 2015 now, the Pro Motocross Championship that's on MAV TV, and he did the same thing in the 2014. He kind of wavered a little bit in the second half of the series of 2014 when he won the championship, and I was like, huh. It kind of shocked me. I just started the 2015 season, but they pointed it out in the broadcast of the 2014 season. Once we got to the second half, Ryan Dungey really started putting pressure on him to go for the championship, and it kind of shocked me looking at it. 2014 to 2022, we're 8 years removed from that situation, and we kind of still see the same Ken Roczen, which kind of boggled my mind a little bit because I don't remember him having those issues, but pre injury. But um, I think he's going to be fast. I think he's going to contend for race wins, but I think we're going to see the second half of the season mirror very similar to what we've seen in the last couple years, where he kind of tapers off. He'll be fighting for top tens. Truthfully, I'm kind of on the defense of I could see him winning the championship this year because he took so much of Supercross off to prepare for motocross, and there was a lot of speculation on whether or not he was going to come back and all this other stuff. But um, I think the first round is going to be really. It's not really going to be a big telltale sign for me. I think once we get to Red Bud in the later half of the season, I think that's really going to tell where we're at with Ken Roczen. I've heard rumors that he is on his way out with Honda, and he's simply coming out here for contractual obligations. And we've noticed that stuff like this happens with Ken whenever he gets towards, the bad blood within an organization, like with Suzuki or Red Bull KTM. Um, he tends to burn bridges, from what I understand, and it may have been more his dad, but he tends to burn bridges with the teams whenever he's not happy with something and he's not getting the results that he wants, which is I completely understand, but um, I think Honda and Kenny, I don't know if they'll be back next year. Kenny more specifically because I I don't know. I just got a feeling that he's going to be done after this season, and it sucks. It sucks to see him go. Fifth place, I've got the number 21 of Jason Anderson on the Monster Energy Kawasaki, and I really wanted to put Jason higher, but he's just not there in outdoors. And again, a lot of these are going to be based off for me, my opinion may very well change in the midpoint of the season depending on how he's doing. And I mean that's obvious, but I put it that way because Jason Anderson's never won an overall in motocross. I think that's going to change this season. I think he's going to be consistently up front, fighting for podiums, fighting for wins. Um, I'm just I'm a little skeptical of where I think he's going to finish because he's never produced success outdoors ever. From his 250 days to his 450 days with Husqvarna, it's never translated. I mean, even whenever he did his Supercross title, he's never really been a championship threat outdoors. And I think that's going to change. I think we're going to see speed from him this year. I think we're going to see him get his first overall win. I think we're going to see him probably get one or two overall wins, truthfully. Um, but I don't think title contention is there at the end of the season. And I could be wrong. I mean, he did well in Motocross of Nations. So I mean, I think the potential is there for him to be a championship threat, but I think for him to get higher up in this list, he's got to have a couple things happen to him, or not to him, to other people around him, because you talk about the big names of the sport like Eli Tomac and Dylan Fernandes, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with for this championship, provided that Tomac's coming in healthy and Fernandes missed a fair amount of Supercross, so I would gather that he's 100%. But if he's not healthy, I guess that would be the only thing that would be hindering those two from really being the top two in the championship. But Jason Anderson, I've got him in fifth place. I could see him rounding out in third, but I don't see him going much higher than that. Fourth place, I've got the number 23 of Chase Sexton on the HRC Honda. And it's kind of the same thing. I mean, a lot of these 450 guys, I think Chase has got the potential to be a championship contender. I think he could absolutely win this championship. Um, I think that he's got the potential there. He's got the speed. He's got to fix the mistakes though, and he's similar to RJ Hampshire in a sense that he's got wicked speed. He could be a lot better than what he is, but he's got to fix the mistakes. He's got to stay off the ground. And Chase he's young, so I mean he's bouncing when he hits the ground as much as he did in Supercross. He's bouncing, um, and I can't imagine that his luck's going to continue like that forever. So he's got to get the stuff ironed out. He's got to learn to take a fifth place whenever it comes, a fourth place whenever he can't catch the top three. And it's cool to see him trying to push those limits, but he's making the mistakes, and it's costing him valuable championship points because I think in Supercross he very well could have been a podium finisher. He had several instances in Supercross where he could have had three or four race wins, and that might be a little high, but I'm pretty sure there was three instances where he was leading the race outside of the one that he won, and he threw it away completely on his own. So I think if Chase Sexton can iron out those mistakes and have a consistent summer, I wouldn't be surprised to see him in front of the championship. I mean, I don't think it's going to happen. I think fourth place, maybe third, is where he's going to end up, depending on how the guys in front of him finish. But I wouldn't be surprised if we get to, Iron Man. I wouldn't be surprised if Chase Sexton is leading the championship or in championship consideration. Um, but he's got to get these mistakes ironed out so he can be a consistent threat. Because with the field that we've got, you're not going to win the championship having a DNF or two or three or four or whatever it is. So he's got to keep himself off the ground if he's going to be considered for the championship. Third place is Dylan Fernandes, and this is probably a little controversial in the fact that he's the defending champion and he was very, very dominant last year. But there's a couple different things that are going on that I think are going to. He does have, I believe it was a wrist injury, um, and I don't know. He didn't have the gate drops this season, and I think even if they were terrible, he doesn't have the gate drops. I think that's going to lend. He's going to be a championship contender, and really the top four, top five, really. I could see them interchanging pretty fluidly. I could see Dylan Fernandes backing up this title. I got a feeling the guys that are in front of him are just going to be better at their consistency, and I think if the field can remain healthy, Dylan Fernandes is not a great starter, so I think it's going to be harder for him to move through the pack if the people are that he's trying to get around are consistently healthy. If he's trying to consistently pass Jason Anderson's a pain in the butt to try to pass. Justin Barcia, Ken Roczen. I mean, if any of these guys are in front of him, if Dylan Fernandes is getting an average start of, let's say, like 10 or 12, then it's going to be really, really hard for him to go through and make those passes consistently and finish in the podium every weekend. Now, that being said, he did it last year. So we are missing, Cooper Webb, Marvin Musquin, I don't think is going to be racing. So um, I heard that he was testing outdoors, but I don't think he's actually racing. So, I mean, it could be one or the other. I mean, Dylan Fernandes, I could see him backing it up and just being as dominant as he was outdoors, but I think he's going to have a harder time this season, and I think his bad starts are going to be very detrimental to him getting the championship this season. I'm just keeping it up with the controversial picks. Second place, I've got the guy coming out of retirement. I've got Ryan Dungey on the Red Bull KTM, and this one wasn't a super hard pick. I almost picked him for the championship, if I'm being completely honest. And the reason why is Ryan Dungey had has made an effort for the past couple seasons. I believe it was more for Supercross than it was for motocross, but he's been trying to come back for a couple years now. And knowing how Ryan Dungey raced, knowing his work ethic, knowing the way that he put championships together in the past, I can't see him coming back if he didn't think he could run the pace of the front field. And I'm not saying he's going to come out and wax the floor. I'm not saying that this is going to be a successful season. But knowing how Ryan Dungey put together championships and how he's carried himself through his professional motocross career, he's not going to come back if he hasn't put the work in. I understand that he's older. I understand that he's hasn't seen a gate drop since he retired in 2017 or 2016 if we're looking at motocross. Um, but I think it's hard for him to commit to come back if he's not the type of person, he's not the type of rider that's going to come out of retirement when he left on a very high note. I don't think he comes back to run around in 10th. I don't think he comes around to run around in the top 5 even. Um, I think he comes back because he believes he can run the pace. And, they picked him alongside a 9-time world champion to come back for motocross. So I think it's a little odd that Red Bull KTM's going through and pulling guys out of retirement to run their bikes, but it is what it is. But Ryan Dungey, I haven't checked the stats, but I know he's very high up in the winningest rider in the motocross as the sport. He's very high on the list. And I don't see Ryan coming back if he doesn't think he can produce race wins. Um, that being said, same thing that I said previously. The top 5, I could see this. I could see him. I don't think he finishes outside the top 5 in the standings. I think he's at least a 5th place rider in the championship, and I'd say if he comes back and he can run fifth, be 5th place overall in the championship, I think that's a win and kind of a slap in the face to everybody that's behind him. A guy that's 32 years old, coming out of retirement after being retired since 2017, and getting beat by him, kind of speaks to Ryan's fitness. And Ryan said that he always kept in shape, but you have to find that race pace, and I think this weekend's going to be a really good telltale sign of what we can expect out of Ryan Dungey. But I don't think he would have committed to all 12 rounds if he didn't think he could be in title contention. All right, and our 450 2022 motocross champion is going to be Eli Tomac. And I have a pretty big caveat with this one. He came into the press conference and said that he is 90% there. Now, if he's truly 90% there, I think he's a shoo-in to win this championship. If that's just a front, which we see a lot of times with these motocross riders, is that they'll say they're fine, but then 3, 4, or 5 weeks into a season, they'll be like, yeah, my knee's pretty jacked, or my shoulder hurts, or whatever it is. Because God forbid we have transparency in the sport, but seeing if he's really 90%, I think it's going to be very hard on the rest of the field for him to win the championship, considering how his Supercross season went. Now, that being said, the last time Eli won the Supercross championship, he did very poorly considering his previous track record. In 2020, he didn't win the motocross championship, and he didn't look that great, if I'm being honest. Now that was with Kawasaki, and I don't know how long ago his issues started with Kawasaki, but he didn't look like the same rider that he did in Supercross. So I mean, we could very well see a repeat of that, where the translation of Supercross success just doesn't translate over to motocross. Um, but I honestly think he's going to be a force to be reckoned with if he's healthy. I think we're going to see if he's truly at 90%. I think the first round or two is probably going to be a little subpar compared to what we're normally thinking we're going to see. But I think after round two, I think we really see Eli come to life and really start dominating. I'm not saying we're going to see 2015 Eli, but in terms of the first four rounds, but I think we're going to see a more dominant version of Eli that we haven't seen in a couple years in motocross. But Stambit, I think he's going to be the 450 motocross champion. I know for next year he's only signed to a Supercross only deal, and I truly believe that he is only doing that because he doesn't know how he's going to do in outdoors. I think if he comes out and I think if he wins the championship, they extend his contract from Supercross only to 2023, and he contends that championship, and then he's done. I think if he comes out here and he finishes fifth, fourth, I think if he doesn't win the championship, he doesn't chance it, and he's done with motocross. I think if he does anything but win this championship in the 450 class, I think he's just done with motocross, and he's going to be, I think he's 30 years old, or he's going to be 30, so he's got a hell of a lot of accomplishments in this sport, in this class specifically. He's a three-time champion. Um, I think if he can come out here and get this fourth championship, I think he'll come out and defend it. But I mean, who doesn't want to win more championships? But I could see it going either way. He might win it and say, you know what, I'm still going to do Supercross only. But I think if he can come out here and win the championship, and he still proves that he's relevant, I think if he wins it by a lot, I think he comes back for for motocross next year to defend the championship, and then he's done after motocross. I expect a press release, at some point at the end of the season, if things go this way, say, hey, I'm going to be contesting the 450 motocross championship, and this will be my last. Next year will be my last year. So that's it, guys. I've got Jet Lawrence defending his title in the 250 class, and I've got Eli Tomac winning the 450 motocross championship this year. Let me know down in the comments below what you think your top 10 is. Let me know what you think of my list. Am I missing anybody? I looked at the pre-entry list, so I could be missing some people, but I like to think that this list is going to be pretty accurate. I could see some swapping for some positions. Um, so yeah, let me know down in the comments what you think. Let me know what kind of content you want to see below moving forward with the motocross and supercross championship. Do you want me to do news breaks? Do you want me to do different things within the sport to kind of keep everybody in the loop? I will not be streaming it. Um, I attempted to upload some videos regarding the Supercross Championship, and they got flagged before they ever got up, so I'm just not going to mess with it. But you guys have been amazing. Thank you all so much for the support. Let me know what you need, what comments or what content you want to see, and I'll get it taken care of. I plan on seeing a video tomorrow about Map TV and kind of a breakdown of Map TV as a whole. I think it's a really good step in the right direction. And I think if we can get Supercross over there, as much as I don't want to pay for another streaming service, Mav TV, they seem to be doing it right. Or Mav TV Plus seems to be doing it right. Being able to go back, I can watch the MXGP series 2022 back to 2016. Lucas Oil Pro Motocross, I can watch 2014 all the way up to 2021, and then obviously they're going to have this series on there. The promo code that I found with Jason Wygant, it's Pro Motocross or Pro MX50 gives you 50% off your first month, and Pro MX10 gives you 10% off if you do annual. So they've got ways to save, which I think is a really good thing. Yeah, that's it. That's my spiel. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. If you haven't already, like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one.